Everything Tax is an initiative by Andersen to share tax knowledge with everyone. Welcome to our podcast. We are here to share you insights about the recent public clarification issued by FTA on manpower services and visa facilitation. I'm here with Gurleen. She is an associate director with us. We are here to understand the critical aspects which have been outlined in the public clarification. I would like to say that this is one of the most welcomed clarification because there was a lot of confusion around this, and I'm sure this is going to be very insightful for you. So what I understand that the intention of the public clarification is to give a definition to manpower services and to actually divide it with visa facilitation. So over here what we'll do is that we'll give you an insight about the practicalities as well as the technicalities in the entire process, because there are a lot of group companies facing this problem. So Gurleen, what do you think why this amendment was brought, or why this clarification per se was brought?
Thank you, Gaurav, for the introduction. And as you mentioned, it was a very welcomed and most awaited clarification from the FTA. Why? Because every business was struggling as to what the tax treatment should be followed for the shared services, for if you are giving your employees to the other companies, whether it's a group company or not a group company, what should be the VAT implications on that, right?
Agreed.
Even if you say like in our industry also, in our sector also, we have a lot of employees we give on secondment, right?
Of course.
So now whether we should recharge and pay VAT on the whole salary or only on the markup. So there are questions which were not answered. So now FTA has fulfilled our wish and now we'll get some insights on what should be the tax treatment of these services.
Correct. So what I understand is that there are a lot of large groups over here in the UAE which were having this problem, and this public clarification is addressing those problems wherein one employee was working for another company but was on the visa of the first company, or one employee was actually seconded to another company. So yeah, that's actually explaining you everything. Now what I remember, since 2018 there have been a lot of groups, tax groups which have been formed just to mitigate the VAT implication on this. So I think that has been clarified now, more or less. That is not the need as of today. So we'll discuss this one by one. So let's get on to understand what actually manpower services are.
Yeah, so what are manpower services? I'll start with an example. I'll not go through what is written in the law. So what is manpower services? If a company A has employees under their visa and they are outsourcing their services to company B, let's suppose. Now the responsibility to pay their salaries, their perks, their benefits will be on company A. And the entire performance responsibility of that employee will also be on company A. The company B will only be using the services of those employees and paying whatever agreed amount to company A. So that's in a nutshell is manpower services as defined in the clarification.
So what I understand is that manpower services is that one company is providing that service to another company for a consideration, and the responsibility of the people who have been seconded or been given is on company A itself. B is just going to be using those services, and VAT is applicable on this transaction because it is a service.
Correct.
Now what I understand from the intention of the law, they're just trying to define service. They're elaborating the definition of service. Because it's a service, it's a extension, or it's something which you're giving a grant to use. So it's like a right which you have to use an employee or take their services. That's what I understand from this.
Yes.
And it's fair. And our interpretation also since day one was manpower services or secondment services or shared services would be subject to VAT. And so this has been clarified, and there's no objection in this.
And just to add, Gaurav, like it's very prevalent in our industry. We also give our employees on secondment basis to many companies. So what we were following is in line with this clarification. Right? So we were charging the VAT on the whole supply value. So this is what now FTA has explained further, elaborated.
They just put the stamp.
They have put the stamp basically.
Agreed. So what I understand right now from this is, since this is defined as a service, there is a consideration. There could be markup. Even
Yeah.
if there's no markup, there could be markup.
Yeah.
Because generally in manpower type of services, there are markups.
Yeah.
So the entire transaction value would be subject to VAT.
Correct.
And the employee typically would get salary from company A in our example. Like, so it's the responsibility for the employee is with company A. However, the services can be enjoyed by company B.
Correct.
So one more aspect is defined in the clarification, which is visa facilitation services or visa services.
Yeah.
So visa services are basically services wherein a company has a lot of visa. What they do is that they get the employees on that visa and they give that employee to another company, maybe only for a consideration which is for the facilitation. But apart from that, the risk, reward, the gratuity, the payments, everything, the salary payments, everything has to be done by the latter company, and it's their responsibility for reviewing their performance.
Correct.
The facilitator will not have any control or supervision on the employees, and it will be considered as a visa service.
Mere visa services.
Mere visa services. Okay, but over here there's one more condition which is attached.
Yeah.
That this visa services could be within a corporate group. Like whether you have some financial interest or whether you have some common interest, then only you can consider these services as a visa services. Otherwise, this is a normal service which is subject to VAT at standard rate of 5%.
Correct.
Only if it's a group. Like what happened in 2018, we saw a lot of companies formed groups, tax groups, just to avoid what you might say, mitigate the risk of cash flow, because there was a lot of cash flow because most of the employees were scattered here and there.
Correct.
But they were working for X company, Y company. So there was a buzz that time. So they formed a tax group just to manage the situation. But now what we see is that there's something which is welcomed, and they're saying that okay, fine, even if you have not charged VAT, it's fair enough. But there is one more underlining aspect which I personally feel, because as per my understanding and review of the public clarification, is that if you have a contract in place for giving your employee, that would again be defined as a manpower service. It will not be visa facilitation, even if you are in the group.
Yeah, and even for that,
because you have explicitly mentioned.
Yeah, and even for that matter, I would like to add one thing. Even if you are, in a business of maybe supplying of manpower,
Correct.
but you are just giving, simultaneously you're giving your employees to your group companies also. And it's just a visa facilitation service for your group company. But in that scenario also, the whole supply will be considered as a manpower service, is not just a visa facilitation service.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So what the clarification is extending to is saying that if your trade license is saying that you are manpower, then again you are manpower service.
Correct.
If your intentions or your intentional documents, your articles of association, your memorandum of association, internal documents are saying that this is manpower service, then you are still within manpower service, even if you're in the corporate group.
Correct.
Or even if your intentions are like that, or any other documentation for VAT purposes, you might have submitted the registration saying that you're a manpower service, then also you become a manpower service provider.
Yeah.
So in that case, there's no exception.
Yeah, true.
Agreed.
So Gaurav, there are instances, defined in this visa facilitation services.
Yeah.
Like if you are giving the visa facilitation services to your group companies,
Okay.
maybe, and they are covered under definition of related parties.
Okay.
Then as per the UAE VAT law, the valuation rules, it has to be on the market value. So the
Agreed.
same principle follows here.
Agreed.
If it is below the market value, the agreed consideration, and the party to whom you are supplying your services is not able to recover the input fully, then you have to again do the calculations and bring your value to the market value.
Agreed.
Yeah?
So this is basically for those entities who have exempt supplies on the other side.
Yeah, correct.
Agreed.
And
Totally.
similarly, if you are giving, let's suppose, to your group companies any supply free of cost,
Agreed.
right, that will be covered under the provision of deemed supply.
Agreed.
Right, now the deemed supply provisions, again, but this is a good point to catch. If the facilitator company is not recovering input on those expenses related to that facilitation services, then it is they need not charge the output also.
Okay.
So that's a good thing that has been clarified in this clarification, and which can help them to save some of the cash flow also.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
And Gaurav, I also feel that this clarification will not only help from VAT perspective, but will solve many questions from corporate tax perspective
Agreed.
also.
Transfer pricing. Yeah, of course.
Because there are many instances where still the businesses are not charging any value in the facilitation or the manpower services.
Correct.
Now this is a very welcome change from both the taxes perspective.
Agreed. But Goodlin, don't you think there's one aspect which has been missed out in this clarification? It's not been explained well.
Yes, I know what are you talking about. Yes.
So when I was reading this, I was going through, I thought one more aspect could have been detailed. They're just touching it, but they have not given a brief.
Yeah.
Like they should have explained it in detail. That one area is basically wherein you have one employee working for 4 companies.
Correct.
Group CFO. Example. Or maybe you can say group CEO. So if he's working for say A, B, C, D, E, his share of salary is being charged to all the 4 companies, and this will be considered as a manpower rather than a visa facilitation.
Yes.
So this shared services and cross charge again would follow the same treatment which we were following prior to this clarification. And one thing we need to note that this clarification is a clarification which is effective from 1st Jan 2018.
Yeah.
So people have to align their tax position again, review the documents, see if there is a change which is required, rectify changes if there are certain areas where they have made mistake.
Yeah.
So
and might be a chance they would required to file voluntary disclosures.
Agreed. Also. I totally agree. We have seen instances that people are calling us. There are a lot of clients calling us to understand this, wherein we have told them that there could be a possible voluntary disclosure exposure. So we're still analyzing, but again, this is more of a welcoming change. In few instances, there are implications, but more it's a tax-friendly change. So let's see how it goes.
Thank you everyone for listening to us today. And please do follow us on the social media and Spotify. Thank you.
Thank you.